Cheryl Reeve is getting a lot of backlash for refusing to answer any questions about Caitlin Clark ahead of the Link and the Fever game yesterday. Now, she has disrespected Caitlin Clark to the fullest, and she refused to answer questions what the media asked her. But before we get off into today's podcast, tell a friend to tell a friend. Well, Minnesota Lynx head coach Cheryl Reeve is trending, and she's trending in the wrong direction. A lot of people think that she utterly just disrespected Caitlin Clark yesterday and refused to answer any questions pertaining Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever and addressing the U.S. Olympic team. Now, you know Cheryl Reeve was in the headlines about a month ago when Caitlin Clark was snubbed from the U.S. Olympic team, and that put a target on Cheryl Reeve's back. Now, ahead of yesterday's game, the pregame press conference, the media has a right to ask, players and coaches, what they think about the game. And there was a game that had to be played between the Indiana Fever and the Minnesota Lynx. But the media, what they do, because they know it's still hot and heavy. It's still talked about because Cheryl Reeve is the head coach of the women's Olympic team. Now, a reporter just did his due diligence and was asking Cheryl Reeve what she thought about Caitlin Clark and also what she thought about her not being on the U.S. Olympic team, and she refused to answer the questions. But what she did was, the way she responded, it has a lot of people in an uproar. Now, there's a lot of people on social media going at Cheryl Reeve for the way she conducted herself in the pregame press conference. But we're going to take a listen to what Cheryl Reeve said yesterday ahead of the matchup between the Indiana Fever and the Minnesota Lynx. Let's take a listen to what Cheryl Reeve said. It's brief and quick, so take a listen.
It's all around the league. But as a coach of the home team, there's going to be a lot of people cheering for that other side.
I'll get two shits.
How about one?
Not even one shit.
Now, you heard what Cheryl Reeve said. I think she, made light of the situation, but a lot of people said, she just utterly disrespected Caitlin Clark. Now, you know what happened yesterday in that game? The Indiana Fever beat the hottest team in the league, the Minnesota Lynx. Now, the Minnesota Lynx, they without Nafia Collier, their best player, their best low post player. So they lost a lot of scoring down in the paint. But Minnesota had a 7-point lead going into the fourth quarter. And Minnesota, they squandered that lead. And Indiana came out victorious. Now, there's some points through the game where Caitlin Clark was at the foul line, and they said that she was staring Cheryl Reeve down eye to eye. I don't know how true that is. There's videos out there stating that, and a lot of people have put clips out there that she was staring, Cheryl Reeve down. And basically, Caitlin Clark got the last laugh. But a lot of people think that Cheryl Reeves is a little bitter. After the game was over and they took that L, she went to the post-game press conference, and she sounded a little humbled, like I stated. We did a video on this about the win yesterday, but now reports coming out that Cheryl Reeve has utterly disrespected Caitlin Clark, and the way Caitlin Clark fired back at her was she got the W at the Minnesota Lynx Arena. It was a sold-out crowd. It was a hostile crowd, but majority of the crowd was Caitlin Clark fans. Majority of the crowd was cheering for Indiana. Every time that Caitlin Clark touched the ball, the crowd was cheering. But a lot of people said that Cheryl Reeve's got an answer to this, man. We don't know what's going on with Diana Taurasi. We don't know if she's going to be available to play in the Olympics. Do they replace her with Caitlin Clark? Now, you know how the men's team went when Kawhi Leonard withdrew he was replaced by Derek White instead of Jaylen Brown. So we know all these conspiracy theories are out there. And if we get something like that, then you know these Caitlin Clark fans are going to be in an uproar. But a lot of people say that Cheryl Reeve, she's bitter, and she got humbled yesterday in that defeat. But basically, bitter U.S. women's basketball coach loses it when asked about Caitlin Clark. Cheryl Reeve is not doing herself any favors in shutting down the rumors that she wants nothing to do with Caitlin Clark. Reeve, the head coach of both the Minnesota Lynx and the U.S. women's national team, was asked 2 questions about Clark and immediately went into defense mode. Clark and the Indiana Fever played visitors to the Lynx on Sunday afternoon, and during the pregame availability with the media, Reeve was asked about Clark's future on the U.S. national team. It was more than a valid question given that Clark was left off of the Summer Olympic squad in one of the most boneheaded moves in organized sports, but Reeves didn't see it that way. Why the hell would I answer a national team question, Reeves said. According to Myron Metcalf of ESPN, I'm wearing a Lynx head coaching uniform, and I'm the head coach of the national team, but I'm not the chairman of the committee. Anybody want to venture into anything else? Reeves' bitterness towards Clark didn't stop there. She was also asked a question about the Fever and fans, Clark supporters, taking over the Target Center in Minnesota on Sunday. And before the reporter could even ask his question, she cut him off by saying, "I don't give 2 shits." When jokingly asked, she gave 1. She said, "Not even 1 shit." So basically, a lot of people are saying that, Cheryl Reeves is bitter right now. But in Cheryl Reeves' defense, she's preparing to play the Indiana Fever. Why should she have to answer any questions about the national team? It's going to come a time and a place where, she has to address it once she dons that USA, head coaching uniform when they go to the Olympics. Then you can ask her all the questions if Caitlin Clark is not put on the team. But she was in the midst of getting prepared to play the Indiana Fever. So it should have been questions about the Indiana Fever. But they asked her questions about Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever and her supporters, and she shut that down. It's like almost saying like she got in defense mode. And right now, Cheryl Reeve is, getting a lot of backlash on social media for the way she acted. But, in her defense, like I said, she wanted to talk about the game. She didn't want to talk about the Olympic squad just yet. But like I said, Caitlin Clark got the last laugh. The Indiana Fever and Caitlin Clark got the last laugh. And, it's just making a bigger storyline now because it's gonna be some bitterness, man, moving forward. If Caitlin Clark does not get put on that U.S. Olympic team, if Diana Taurasi can't go and you got to replace her, and they replace her with somebody else, and Caitlin Clark is not there, these fans are going to be in an uproar. But right now, like I said, Caitlin Clark got the last laugh, man. But Cheryl Reeve right now, she's getting a lot of backlash, and she just utterly disrespected Caitlin Clark when they asked her about Caitlin Clark. That's my view on it. Everybody else might have a different opinion, but I know Cheryl Reeves is in the back of her mind because she is the head coach of the Olympic team, and Caitlin Clark is not there. And when they asked her questions, she did get in defense mode. But hey, it is what it is, man. This is basketball, and this is news. And Cheryl Reeves, she's made headline news in this situation by just disrespecting Caitlin Clark in a little way, and she's trending. She's going viral for that moment. That 10-second clip, she is going viral. So you guys let me know what y'all think down in the comment section. And like I said, before you leave out the door and put your shoes on, do me a favor. Give this video a thumbs up. And this is going to wrap up another episode of the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. I'm your host and the man behind the mic, K-Sap. We're going to catch you on the next one. Deuces.
Thanks for listening to the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share on all major platforms.
That's all, folks.